I've been waiting for Adobe to do this for a while, and today they finally did. They have officially added their own DeNoise AI model right into Lightroom. And I'm gotta say, it's not that bad. So what I wanna do is show you how it works and compare it to the only other noise reduction app that I've used in the past several years, and that is, it was DeNoise AI by Topaz Labs, but I've since switched to their newer Topaz Photo AI. So I thought, let's compare the two and see where Lightroom actually now excels, where you only need to use it, and where you might still want to consider using an app like Topaz Photo AI or some other third-party app. But before I do, if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Brian. I help photographers like you get better looking photos using apps like Lightroom and Photoshop and other third-party apps. So let's dive right in. Now, obviously, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you are running the latest versions of Lightroom. So for Lightroom Classic, that's 12.3, and the newer Lightroom is 6.3. If you are in Classic and you want to learn more about the updates, just go to Help and then select What's New. And that's going to take you to this page over here, and you can learn more about the additions and improvements made to Lightroom. All right, so here I've got 4 images, and each one serves its own purpose. Just different use cases for how you might want to use noise reduction in Lightroom and Topaz Photo AI. So let's just start with a very basic one. Here I've got this photo, and you can see that it was shot at ISO 1600. If I zoom in, you can see that it is noisy. Like this is kind of the reference area that I'll be using for determining the noise reduction. I always look for flat areas. When you're kind of in a busier part of an image, it's sometimes a bit more difficult to see the impact of noise. But when you're looking at flat areas or out of focus areas, that's where noise is most visible. So we will start with applying noise reduction in Lightroom Classic, since that is where we're at. And it's super easy. You just go to the develop module here, and under what used to be the noise reduction over here, you can see if it now says manual noise reduction, which are the old sliders, which I thought were honestly pretty terrible. You now have this denoise button. It says reduce noise with AI. The results will be saved as a new DNG. And really, there's almost nothing you need to do. I'm going to click on denoise. And if you've used some of Adobe's kind of their experimental features, this kind of a preview window might be familiar to you. And so it pops up here. We saw that when they first introduced super resolution. Now, this is how I've taken to using this new DeNoise AI model. The first thing I do is I click on that magnifying glass on the bottom right here, which shows me the full image. And then I click on an area where I know there's noise. So somewhere around here. And the reason why I do that is because let's say I wanted to pan somewhere, it's actually really slow to do that. So the easiest way that I find is to click out here and then click in an area. The next thing that I do is I bring the slider to 0. And this is really sweet. I give Adobe a lot of credit. Like any slider that I use, I pretty much always go to 0 and then drag it up slowly to see the effect build. The process of applying noise reduction is actually very quick. It's pretty much real time. So as I drag up, I'm looking at the flat area to see the noise reduction being applied, and I'll stop basically right where it looks good, like right around here. That looks good. And then I'll pan over just to see another area. And if you click, just like any other app, including Topaz Photo AI, if you click, you'll see the original. And so you can quickly compare, and it looks really good. So a few things to note. You have these other options here, raw details, which has to be enabled when you're using denoise with a raw file, but you also have super resolution. Super resolution cannot be used when you're using denoise, at least currently. If you want to use super resolution, you have to disable denoise, and then you can enable super resolution. But we don't want to do that here. We just want to apply noise reduction. And so this is looking good here. And now I'm going to click on enhance. You'll see on the top left there, it says it's creating a DNG using denoise. And so if I go to the grid view, a DNG will pop up over here, and there it is. And you'll see that the file name, it has a -nr appended to the file name. And so really quickly, if we just compare the two, you can see now, this is the noise reduced version. This is the original version. Obviously the improvements are really good, especially when you look over here. Now let's go ahead and use Topaz Photo AI. Again, Topaz Photo AI is the app that I've been using to apply noise reduction even to RAW files. I've got a video on that explaining when you might want to consider doing that. So be sure to check that out. So to do that, I'm going to select the original RAW file. I'm going to go to File, Plugin Extras, and select Process with Topaz Photo AI. This is the only workflow that will take a RAW file from Lightroom into Topaz Photo AI and put out a DNG when you save it. If you right-click and go to Edit In and then select Topaz Photo AI, which we will do in a bit, this will create another file, either a JPEG, a PNG, or a TIFF. So the advantage to that, as I'll tell you in a second, has to do with whether you want to preserve any edits you make to your photo. So again, File, Plugin Extras, Process with Topaz Photo AI. All right, so in Topaz Photo AI, you can see that Autopilot is using raw image data and that it is removing a strong amount of raw noise. Now, just like with the Lightroom noise reduction, let's put our focus box here over this sign, and it looks good. I can still see some kind of artifacting, and that could just mean that I need to add more noise reduction. So because in Lightroom, it wasn't an automatic thing. I didn't let Lightroom make a decision and take it from there the way that kind of Autopilot does here. I manually adjusted the sliders. So to be fair, I'm going to manually adjust the noise reduction sliders here just to get, a good result. So let's bring the strength up. Let's bring the detail down a little bit. Basically, I'm just looking for kind of a flat looking background that doesn't have too much noise, but still retains some detail. And so that's looking good. I think that's looking pretty good here. I am seeing some weird patterns here that I don't know what's going on, but I'll also compare maybe the normal model and then just click between the two. And actually, I think the normal model is better. Yes, it's actually definitely better. So I'm going to stick with this normal model in this case here. Bring the strength up a little bit, bring detail up a little bit. And that's good. I think that that's definitely a nice improvement. So I'm going to click on Save to Adobe Lightroom Classic to return back. All right, so here's the kind of moment we want to at least start with, and that is to compare Lightroom's DeNoise AI to Topaz Photo AI's noise reduction. So here, this is the Lightroom version of the DNG. And again, just to remind you that we're getting DNG files from both of these. So we'll select this one and then select this one and compare the two. So right off the bat, this is the Topaz Photo AI version. This is the Lightroom version. There's basically one very important question you have to ask yourself here. Is the Lightroom DeNoise AI model good enough? Where can you get good results in an app that you're already paying for, that you don't need to send to any other third-party apps, and that you can just get, again, results that can allow you to move forward with your creative post-processing? So when I look at this, the Lightroom version, again, on the left here, it provides solid results. I will say that the Topaz Photo AI version is sharper. I mean, you can look at the outline of the arrow. The arrow does look more defined here. Now, I did not apply any sharpening in Lightroom beyond whatever the default sharpening values are, so that there is that. If we zoom in here, for example, just looking at kind of like background text, it's funny because here this text here actually looks better than this text here. And this sign has more definition. Again, the Lightroom version is on the left. So that's what I'm asking myself. Is the Topaz Photo AI version markedly better than Lightroom? And I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's that much better. It's good. It's really good. It's light years better than what Lightroom had for noise reduction before this feature was introduced today. So I'm going to call this right now kind of a draw. I do think that the Lightroom version produces a slightly sharper kind of rendition, for example, of this arrow. But I think as far as noise reduction goes, they're both fantastic. So again, that's a draw. The next one that I want to The next example that I want to talk about has to do with when you have to really crop in on a photo, because here's where things start to kind of set apart a little bit. So with this photo that I took of a bald eagle, let's go ahead and crop. Actually, before we crop, let's zoom in so I can show you. It's slightly out of focus because of the lens I was using and the speed of the bird and the speed of the camera's autofocus system. But it's also very, very noisy. So what I'm going to do is crop in. I'm going to create this kind of smaller crop box and get it to where pretty much just the eagle is in frame. Okay, right there. So now you can see that we now have kind of a tighter shot. And here is where maybe Topaz Photo AI might have an edge, but we'll see. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and click on this DeNoise button. Just like before, click on the magnifying glass, zoom in on the area that you want to work on, and take that slider from 0 and build it in until that noise is gone. So that was a pretty noisy photo. So we're almost at 100%, but that's looking good. And you can see just the improvement. I mean, it's really good. Let's go ahead and click Enhance. Again, that's creating another DNG file. Now, here's where the workflow differences really show themselves. I'm going to take the same photo and I'm going to send it to Topaz Photo AI. Again, I'm sending the raw file. So I'm going to go to File, Plugin Extras, and Process with Topaz Photo AI. All right, so the first thing you'll notice in Topaz Photo AI is that we have the uncropped version. That is because when you send a raw file to Topaz Photo AI, it does not look at any of the information in the metadata. So the crop information that we applied to the image in Lightroom is stored in metadata. When we send the photo to Topaz Photo AI, that metadata is not honored, and so we get the full image. Plus, if we made any edits, any white balance changes, anything in the develop module, you wouldn't see that here. This is the original photo. So let's go ahead. We'll zoom in. Let's put the focus box on the eagle here. In fact, I'm going to get a little tighter just to get, I really want to make sure that the head here looks good. So here's what's happening. Autopilot is using raw image data because we sent the raw file. It's applying strong raw noise reduction, and it's also sharpening because it detected that the eagle was out of focus. So that's a benefit, right? That's an actual benefit. This is a kind of a win in Topaz Photo AI's bucket because they not only are applying noise reduction, but they're also using another sharpen AI model. Whether or not the results are good, that, we need to kind of work on it. But by default, using Autopilot's recommendations, it's okay. Noise reduction is fine. I will go ahead and verify what's going on. Again, the normal might be better. So let's see what happens here. And actually, I think it is. Yeah, normal does a better job. I feel like strong adds some artifacts. So, but I'm going to go ahead and increase the strength a little bit just to make sure that we don't have any additional noise. And I'm also going to add a little bit. Actually, no, I'm not going to add any detail because we also have the sharpen model. So with the sharpen model, let's go ahead and add a little bit of clarity, see what happens. That looks pretty good. I mean, especially I'm looking at the eye. You see how the eye is almost doesn't have, it's an eye, but it doesn't have much shape. And same thing with the beak. Here, let's turn off the sharpen model just to see. And yeah, I mean, look at that. That's actually really good. I am happy with this, all things considered. So now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and return back to Lightroom. All right, so here in Lightroom, you can see that's the original file without any noise reduction, but with the cropping. This is the Topaz Photo AI version. You can see how it's the original composition. And then this is the new Lightroom DeNoise AI with the crop, which is a nice benefit. But all you need to do here to get the same crop is to take the original photo that has the crop information, click on the version that came back from Topaz Photo AI, and then go to Sync Settings and just make sure that only crop is enabled. When you do that, you now have the same images. So let's go ahead and compare the two. So this is Lightroom, this is Topaz Photo AI. And if we zoom in, all right, so it is up to you to determine. For some reason, this looks worse. I don't know why. I'd have to go back to look at Topaz Photo AI, but the version that was output looks worse than what I saw in the Topaz Photo AI app. Like I don't think it's especially good. When you're zoomed out, though, it actually looks pretty good, to be honest. Like I can see nice details in the tail. The tail looks a lot better, but we haven't done any sharpening with Lightroom yet. So to be fair, let's try. Let's take the image here in the develop module. Let's zoom in and see if we can add some sharpening. And I'm not going to walk through the process. I'm just going to do this kind of quickly to see if I can get a decent result. So now let's compare the two again. So Lightroom and Topaz Photo AI. I gotta say, actually, I like the Lightroom version better. I mean, again, so I mentioned earlier about how you have to ask yourself whether the noise reduction is good enough for the fact that it is now included in the app that you're already paying for, and not having to use other apps and have multiple versions of files. Is it good enough? I'm asking myself the same question about sharpening right now. We both of these images here, the noise reduction is great. Like you can see in the background, you can see here that everything looks good. However, with the sharpening, man, I actually prefer Lightroom. The Lightroom sharpening looks better, in my opinion. And again, when you zoom out, both of these look good, but now that I'm comparing the two, Topaz Photo AI almost looks a little bit over sharpened. Now that could be just because of how I, configured the sharpen model. I'm not saying that the sharpen model is necessarily better or worse. However, just looking at the two, I'm actually quite happy with my result from Lightroom here. So if I had to compare the two and actually weigh them, I think I said that with noise reduction, it's kind of a draw, except Lightroom does have a little bit of an edge because it's in-app. In this case here, when we're talking about not only noise reduction, but also sharpening, I almost prefer Lightroom sharpening here. And again, this is with a heavily cropped photo. So it's just something to be said. Both images, in my opinion, fall apart under scrutiny, meaning when you zoom in, we're zoomed in, remember, at 333.8%. So let's just be fair. Let's keep things in perspective. I would say that the Lightroom version does look better. I mean, this just doesn't look very good. When you zoom out, of course, I'm sure if you were to export this in a 1080 by 1080 square for Instagram, no one would notice the difference. However, just to make sure to have the best possible results in your photo editing app, I would say in this case here, Lightroom does win. All right, so we got one more example, and that has to do with what if you want to apply noise reduction to a photo that you have already stylized. You're not like these two raw files, even if we did any sort of post-production to them in Lightroom first, as soon as you send them to Topaz Photo AI, the raw file that is, like I mentioned before, all those changes are ignored. So if there's a photo where you're like, you know what, I want the cropping, I want the editing, I want it all there. That's a different workflow. So here I've got this photo. If I go ahead and I press the / key, you can see that's the original. That's the processed photo. Here's another little new feature in the Lightroom Classic. You'll see on each of the panels in the develop module, there's now an eyeball. And the eyeball is like it's kind of like a temporary on-off. So if you just want to see what the effect is like without, for example, tone curve or the basic sliders, you just click that. If you want to turn off the entirety of the panel at once, you can press and hold the Option key or the Alt key. And here you can't turn off the basic. Basic can never be turned off, but you could turn off anything else. So like the tone curve turns into a switch. So I'm pressing and holding the Option key on Mac, Alt key on Windows, and I can click on that switch, and now it's off. You can't click on the eyeball anymore. So you can turn it back on again, Option or Alt, click, and now it's on. Okay, that's a super quick addition. So let's go ahead. I'm going to crop this in a little bit just because I want to make several edits. And that's looking good. Okay, that's good. Now, if we zoom in, I mean, it's noise city, right? Let's see what the information is. ISO 8000. So yeah, that's a noisy photo. But let's go ahead and click on denoise here. Zoom out, bring it in over here. And just like before, let's bring it to 0 and slowly build it in. Right around, I mean, even at 100%. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to bring it at 100%. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's go ahead and click Enhance. That's going to create the DNG file. And what we can now do is send the same file with all the edits to Topaz Photo AI. To do that, we're not going to go to File and then plug in extras. We're going to right-click on the photo, go to Edit In, and select Topaz Photo AI. And I'm just going to use these default settings for myself, TIFF file with this color space, and then click Edit. And so you can see now that we're in Topaz Photo AI with that Edit In workflow, we have the edits that we made, including the crop and all the other tone and color changes. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'll actually zoom in a little bit more. And let's see what we got. So autopilot is removing noise. I'll go ahead and yeah, that's the strong model I'm not sure of. Let's go to normal and see what happens here. Actually, in this case here, normal is worse. So we'll go with strong. Let's add a little bit more strength because I don't feel like it was removing all that noise. Let's see if I bring it all the way up to 100. Yeah, I mean, I think I have to be at 100 because even at like 70 something, I can see some noise over here and some artifacts. So let's go with this. Let's bring the detail to 0. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's bring it back to Lightroom. All right, so here, this is the Lightroom version. Again, you can see the -NR in the file name. That is the TIFF file from Topaz Photo AI. And let's compare the two. So if we zoom in here, first, let's just look at noise. And I would say that Lightroom actually did a really good job. I mean, an exceptional job, in my opinion. Well, just look, you can kind of see, hopefully with the YouTube compression, it won't, crush this information, but just look at the flat areas here, just look smoother than over here. And again, both of these are actually at full strength. Remember, I use 100% on both of them for noise reduction. So in this case here, I would say Lightroom wins. I also just think generally it looks better. There's less, look around the ear and here around the side of the head. Here, there's all this kind of artifacting. Here, there's not. It's smoother. I will say that there's a little bit less detail that I think is, we can possibly add sharpening. So let's do that. I'll take the Lightroom version here. We'll go to develop. Let's zoom in here. And again, I'm just going to add some sharpening. And you can see kind of my quick workflow for sharpening. Let's bring that sharpening down a little bit. That was a bit too strong. All right, now let's compare. Now, this isn't exactly a fair comparison because I add sharpening in Lightroom, but you can see that it does look better. As a reminder, we're zoomed in at 333.8% and we cropped in. So you can see how, the detail is better and the noise reduction is better. Okay, so what does all of this mean for you? Well, here's how I'm approaching it. And this is kind of going to be my new philosophy. If you only own the Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop kit or all of Creative Cloud, for example, I think you're going to be just fine with this new DeNoise AI model. In other words, I don't know that as a Lightroom user, you really need to jump into any other app. I'm very impressed with what Adobe did here. It's just a really impressive AI model. It does a great job of taking raw image data and putting out a DNG file that's very clean. However, it doesn't, there are things where Topaz Photo AI has excelled. Like in some cases, I preferred the results of Topaz's DeNoise model, and the ability to add a sharpening model as well, plus the ability to upscale if you need to in one app. That is convenient. The thing is that using Lightroom's sharpening slider, I was able to get results that I'm actually pretty happy with. So to break it down, if you already use Lightroom and Topaz Photo AI, or Topaz DeNoise AI and Sharpen AI, which is their two individual apps, I mean, you're in great shape. There's really nothing else. Or if you're using On One with their No Noise AI, or Luminar Neo's noiseless AI, I don't use them actively, so I didn't want to include them. I'm comparing the apps that I actively use. But if you use those other apps, they might be perfectly fine. I think the biggest winner here is the person who either only uses Lightroom and Photoshop, or the person who currently owns some of these third-party apps, like Topaz Photo AI, and maybe when the subscription is over, you might not need to resubscribe. You might be totally fine with Lightroom. So I have to give Adobe credit where credit is due. They did a really great job here. There are other improvements to masking, for example, especially with portraits, but I don't really do portraits very often, so I didn't cover that. So I hope you found this helpful. If you do want to get Topaz Photo AI, because it is a great app, I am not bashing it, then I'll leave a link in the description. It is an affiliate link. If you do click it and then make a purchase, I will make a small commission from that, and that helps directly support my channel. And I thank you for that. But if you don't use Topaz Photo AI, you now have a very, very competent and capable noise reduction option, because what Lightroom used to have was terrible. I would never recommend noise reduction in Lightroom before. It was a lot easier for me to say, listen, just go get DeNoise AI or Topaz Photo AI. This levels the playing field. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this was only a matter of time. I knew this would happen, and it has. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. And if you're not already subscribed, please click on that button and be sure to hit the bell icon for notifications of all new videos. Thanks a lot.